Welcome back, everybody. Here we have Venessa Parker for the last session of the day for the track one of Welcoming to the Awesome. We're really excited to have her here. She is an award-winning learning and development professional, and she's currently part of Degreed. And she will be sharing her insights today on the amazing race for skills. So I hope you're all comfy. You have your coffee or your midnight cap, and be ready to learn a lot from her. Vanessa, the floor's all yours.
Thank you, Mariana. Hello, everybody. I hope you're all raring to go. My name is Venessa, and I work with L&D professionals around the world, helping them to navigate changes within their organisation in order to adopt effective ways of learning and skilling and to get the most out of technology. So many of us are navigating changes in the world around us, trying to keep pace by learning and skilling. And today I want to share what it looks like in practice and what I've learned along the way from my own experiences as well as from the organisations that I've partnered with. Let's take a look at where we're going to go. We'll start by aligning on the current skills landscape, talking about the difference between learning and skilling, and also looking at what's currently happening with skilling efforts around the world. Then we'll have a look at the journey I've taken in my own career, and I'll show you a visualization of the skills I've gained along the way. And lastly, we'll finish up with some top tips to keep pace with the amazing race for skills. Now, if you have any questions throughout, feel free to drop them in the Q&A box, and we hope to have some time at the end of the session to get to those. Now, firstly, let's look at the difference between learning and skilling. Learning is basically about the transfer and retention of information, regardless of if it has been applied or has impact. Whereas skilling is more about the transfer of that knowledge with an intent to bring impact through action. Now, when people apply their knowledge, they're basically using their skills. You might hear some people using the terms reskilling or upskilling. Reskilling is about taking on new skills or skills that are unrelated to current role, responsibilities, or focuses. Whereas upskilling is more about improving skill sets related to your current role, responsibilities, or focus. Now, looking at the landscape, the skills that we need and the ones that we have are changing constantly because the world around us is changing. Processes, industries, tech, strategies, and we need to adapt to those changes. By 2030, it's predicted that more than 85 million jobs could go unfilled because there aren't enough skilled people to take them. But what does that evolution of skills look like? The World Economic Forum expects these 15 skills to be of greatest need in 2025. And what was interesting for me is that there are so many core skills that are at the top of the list rather than technical skills, which people might expect to be at the top of the list. And how are people tackling this? So many L&D professionals are focusing on upskilling and reskilling as a priority. And their efforts can really help people to grow, particularly when that's paired with real opportunities for internal mobility, which is basically moving around organisations in different roles, secondments, and also just being able to participate in business projects and really put those skills to practice. Companies that have greater internal mobility are where people tend to stay longer. This year's Workplace Learning Report shows that the median tenure is 5.4 years compared to 2.9 years at companies that have much lower internal mobility. So it makes sense that internal mobility itself is becoming more of a priority for L&D professionals. Now, that was a super quick roundup of the skills landscape. Before we move on, I'm really interested to hear from you. What skills are you currently developing? If you could go into the chat box and give me a roundup of what you're currently looking at developing in yourself. Technology, love it. Time management, key one. Communication, nice. Leadership. Marilo, which technology in particular are you looking at? Leadership, love that. DE&I, key. Emotional intelligence, love. Nice, a good varied range of skills there. E-learning, authoring, cool. As simple as MS Teams, literally, there's so much that tech can do, and they keep making updates to it. It's really interesting how it can help you in your day-to-day. I love that. Great. Zoom, yep, true. Love it. Thanks so much for sharing. Okay, thank you. Next up, we're going to run through the journey I've taken during my career. And I'm going to show you a visual indication of some of the skills I've used to drive impact in those roles. You're going to see a range of icons throughout which indicate some of the different roles I've held and some significant career hurdles I've overcome, and also some standout opportunities that have helped me to skill. I'll also show you a number of skill bubbles, which I'll explain later. Okay, let's get started. So here we're going to look at a stage in my career where I was really finding my feet. You'll notice there are a number of different roles, and I actually had an overlap with most of these roles, plus I was studying. Working within pizza delivery, watching students take exams, working in a photo shop as well, printing images, doing photo restorations. And at one point, I even worked in Buckingham Palace, which was an experience to remember. And what this brought me is a number of opportunities to skill and also figure out what I enjoyed. And the biggest hurdle for me at this stage was wanting to work in buying. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with retail headquarter functions, buying teams basically choose and sometimes develop the products that are stocked by retailers. And I really struggled due to not having enough experience to get into an entry-level position. And this was despite studying for those roles and doing internships in university. So I decided to try and infiltrate retail HQ by starting on the shop floor and working my way in, as I've been working in customer service for so long. And assumptions were made about my ability to apply my skill set in a higher end fashion environment, but I overcame that, and through my perseverance and also honing my interview technique through practice. So that was great for me. And really, in terms of the key opportunities for developing my own skills, I really learned through actually doing the work, watching others and also failing. That really helped me. And this has been the same for the vast majority of the roles that I've held. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like the visualization. Okay, so now we're going to move on to some of the key skills that I picked up at this stage. Now we're looking at the first visualization of my skills map at this stage in my career. Now on here, you'll see a number of different sized bubbles. The different sizes represents the strength of my skill level at that time. I'm mainly showing relevant skills that I was using on a regular basis within my work or my studies. And I mapped these skills by looking back at the core elements of the roles I was in and also looking at my achievements. I used a basic 3-level scale to indicate my experience. You've got beginner, which is the light blue, smaller circles, intermediate, which is the bright blue circles, and more experienced, which is the larger purple circles. And this scale is based on levels 1, 3, and 5 of a skills framework that was developed by the Lumina Foundation. Now there are several tools that you can use to ascertain skills and levels, and I'll be happy to share links to anyone who's interested. You'll see on here that time management and resilience were key skills for me that I had to use constantly while juggling different priorities. Okay, moving on to the next part of my career. Now, this actually takes place within one organisation, and it was quite good for me to kind of get this down and really look at it and realise how much of a role that organisation played in my career. The place is called House of Fraser, which is a department store in the UK. And I stayed at that organisation for around 6 years because of the high internal mobility and other opportunities that allowed me to skill quite rapidly. My first role was a sales assistant. So I managed to infiltrate and get onto the shop floor. Shortly after I started, I began networking with the buying team when they visited the store. In terms of a key opportunity to skill, I took the initiative to do a research project looking at potential gaps in the product range and opportunities to fill those gaps. And I presented that to the senior buyer. They actually decided to go with some of my recommendations, which I was very excited about. And I even had a small line of dresses named after me based off my recommendations. I didn't recommend them to name it after me though. Ultimately, following a job shadowing opportunity, I was offered a job in headquarters as a buying assistant. And that was the entry level position. So I was kind of starting from scratch, ready to go. So I got what I wanted. In buying, after a few months, I became more focused on how to improve the learning experience for others in my business function instead of focusing purely on the product side of things. And it took me a while to realize that was really where my passion lay. I was mentoring more junior members of the team, and I also started a training project with some of the L&D team to get some solutions put into place. And that training project really gave me a good amount of practice and helped me to have a good reputation with the learning and development team. And eventually a role became available in learning and development, and I was given a chance to grow into it. Working in L&D was a massive learning curve for me. I rapidly moved through lots of different roles as I developed my skills, largely through watching others, practicing, reflecting, and being given feedback. I was very ambitious and I really pushed for more responsibility, which is partly why you see my roles change so frequently on the right-hand side. The business was trying to find interim positions for me while they looked at whether they could promote me further. The biggest opportunity here was driving change from pure instructor-led training to a more blended approach, putting digital content and social learning activities at the forefront. And the success of that project led to a reduction in time to capability. It allowed costs to be directed to more valuable efforts for the business, and it contributed to my team winning several awards. And it was a very exciting but highly pressured time in my career, and I'm very grateful that I had that experience. So let's look at some of the skills. As you can see, there are a lot of different skills making an entrance here with the light blue colours popping up. You'll see a few more bright blue as well as I started to become skilled in some of those areas. Some of the skills that I used previously have actually dropped off now as they were less relevant to the role that I was in. So things like print design wasn't really something that I was using. However, videography is something that I managed to carry through, and it was really useful for doing learning design. Creative problem solving and innovative thinking have really helped me to get ahead at this stage and stand out as I found new ways to make an impact. If you think back to those research projects that I did. Networking was also a key one for me as I realised how this could help me gain knowledge, make relationships, and gain access to new opportunities. And of course, core skills like time management, teamwork, and resilience were also becoming stronger. Now here we're taking a look at the next 4 years of my career up to where I am currently. The main hurdle here was getting that promotion while I was working at the previous organisation. I had manager responsibilities without the title, the pay or the benefits. And I noticed internal mobility opportunities were drying up due to other priorities in the business. I was thinking about my next step, but I wasn't quite sure of myself. Really wondering if I could do what I needed to do without this team and this network that I'd built up. My mentor was also my boss, and she gave me all the support I needed and really boosted my confidence. I moved into a fixed term contract role as an L&D manager, and I really focused on driving change at that organisation. I was the sole learning and development person, which was a totally new experience for me, and put in a number of different solutions for that organisation. And at the same time, I decided to self-fund a professional diploma, which is often seen as a symbol of expertise amongst L&D and HR professionals in the UK. And I realised at that point that I really wanted to focus more of my time on partnering with other L&D professionals, helping them to be successful. And the diploma helped to back up my theoretical knowledge and also my level of influence amongst the key audience that I wanted to work with. So that was great. I then moved into a customer success role, working on the supplier side within providers of learning and skilling technology platforms. And I've been since then consulting with businesses on their strategy to shift the learning culture while driving adoption of digital and social methods of learning and skilling. I also did a stint as an internal L&D consultant at one of the businesses I worked within, which is what you see on here. And to date, I've worked as a customer success consultant, manager at 3 different businesses, and I've partnered with over 50 organisations within those roles. And I've learned a lot, mostly through consulting with those businesses, navigating different cultures, personalities, and their business expectations. I've also had the opportunity to research and publish industry reports and also host industry webinars, which has been a great learning experience for me. Now let's take a final look at my skills. You'll see much more bright blue and purple on here, showing how my skill has shifted. Consulting is a key skill that I have to use every day, internally and externally, so that's one of the key ones for me. Creative problem solving and innovative thinking continue to be 2 of my core skills that I've realised I actually use in every role I have. Even if it's not required, I always use it. And they continue to help me drive impact. And you'll see skills such as automation and data analysis are emerging focus skills of mine. So these are ones that I'm particularly looking at the moment, as I like to use data to back up my decisions, and automation is key for myself and my team to remain productive and focused on valuable tasks. So, on my skills map, I mainly stuck to skills related to the jobs that I've been in, but the full skills map would be much more comprehensive, including skills related to my hobbies, areas of interest that I'm looking at, or anything that I'm looking at doing in the future. One of the key points that I've realised is that aside from Degreed, where I'm working at the moment, not one of the companies I've worked within has tried to track which skills were available in the organisation. And knowing the skills that exist and the level of skills that exist, plus having experiential opportunities, are so important for staying relevant. So I'd love to see more organisations doing that. Right, so let's move on to top tips for keeping pace. Firstly, for organisations, courses and content and tech alone are not the answer. Let's make that clear. Practical experiences supported by management are key in skilling. So don't get weighed down in program design and forget the opportunities to practice. Organisations should make sure they're building them into any skilling solutions. Think about projects, activities, or even roles. While some organisations have an idea of the skills they need in the near future, many don't understand the current skill set or level of skill in the organisation. So a skill audit can really help and act as a way to measure skills. You could start with breaking down role profiles and CVs of those in your organisation, but remember, skills evolve and there may be skills you don't actually know about. You can ask employees, or you can actually invest in tools or partnerships that are created just for this purpose. And lastly, if you're just getting started, focus on high priority skills which are going to be needed by the majority of people in the organisation. Think about skills that are instrumental in driving your company culture and ultimate success. Don't automatically focus on technical skills. And then for individuals, for yourselves, make your own skills map by reflecting on your current skill set. You can have a look at your CV, your job description, and really take stock of your achievements to look back at what is your skill set. Select your focus skills, so the ones that you really want to have a look at right now, the ones you really want to develop. Think about where you want to be in your future career and also what you enjoy. And persevere with your own attempts at becoming more skilled. Speak to your network, seek out opportunities, and really advocate for yourself. And lastly, feel the fear and do it anyway. Okay, thank you so much for your time. Feel free to send me a direct message or connect with me on LinkedIn if you would like to see any of the links that I've been talking about today. But I think we have a little bit of time for questions. If you have any, please drop them in.
Thank you, Vanessa. I see we have one question. Let me see if I can show it on stage. It's from Malcolm. He's asking how different are skills needed in different countries or from a global standpoint? So what different skills are needed?
There is definitely a difference depending on where different countries are at. I saw quite an interesting report recently. I'll share the link, which actually breaks down the level of skills that are being focused on across different industries and different countries. Some countries are very much focused on technical skills, whereas others are in a different place at the moment. So I definitely recommend having a look at that. I'll share it.
Perfect. Thank you. We have another question from Shirley. She's asking you, she's saying, Vanessa, thanks for sharing your journey. What was the most difficult part about transitioning to L&D? That's a great question.
Honestly, it was self-doubt. It was doubting myself. And I think worrying about having to facilitate and tell people about topics that I felt I didn't know well enough myself. So it was really getting over that doubt and just practicing, presenting and facilitating. That is what really helped me to feel like, I can do this job. I'm going to go for it. And I do think that working on that training project really gave me the confidence boost to do that. Once I was there, I would say the team was really supportive of me. Watching others was a great way to help me make the leap and see, what does excellence look like and try to emulate that myself.
Wonderful. Let's see if there are any more questions coming in.
Oh, and thank you for the lovely comments.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of support from the chat, which is always welcome.
And I'm going to share a list of different links related to the topics I was speaking about. I'll be sharing that on my LinkedIn page. So if any of you are interested in kind of following up, including that report that's got a breakdown by country as well, I'll share that link.
Awesome. Let's see. I think Rita wants to come on stage.
Ooh. Hi, Rita.
Hi, how are you, Vanessa? Thank you, Mariana.
I'm good.
That was such an inspiring presentation. And I agree with the comments from a few of the people about your slides. It was really captivating. I think you represent where we are right now in this coming out of the COVID, where it's not about the degree or the formal education, and the way you painted your journey, you really emphasize that you can do this as long as you believe in yourself.
You really can.
So
more need to focus on skills rather than roles.
Yeah,
you're missing out,
and this is where a lot of companies are struggling because they figure they want that degree, they need to see that degree. But for you personally, right? And I mean, of course you exude confidence. It comes through whether you know it or not in your voice and you articulate it so well. But do you feel like you need that degree?
No,
Yeah.
not at all. No, I think when I was making that transition from working somewhere for 6 years to kind of going out on my own, I felt like I had to prove myself, and that I think that's partly why I went off and did the professional diploma, because I felt like I had to prove
Yeah.
I'm not just blagging it. I know what I'm doing. I felt
Yeah.
like I had to, and I feel like the industry was kind of in that place at that time.
Right.
Whereas now, I think it's shifting. And it's quite funny that I work at Degree, because their whole vision is to jailbreak the degree. The degree is not the answer. Skills
Right.
are the answer, and you can get that in so many different ways.
Yeah.
So I love that, and I definitely don't think I need
Because
the
I mean,
degree.
you went from the retail to this industry to this, and you end up in education, in corporate learning and development. I have one
Mm,
other question, if I may, Mariana. Do you have time? Do I have time?
Yes, we
I really liked how when you talked about at the very end, when you closed your presentation, about the skills need to be focused on the organizational
mm,
culture, brand, whatever, I forgot the term. And then you talked about the technology, but then,
yeah.
and then, we've shifted from the soft skills to human skills. What are those human skills, in your opinion, if you don't mind me
Mm,
asking? I know we used to refer to them as soft skills before, but today we're going into.
yeah.
Can you talk about that? And thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to ask these two questions.
Mm. I think it's a lot to do with analyzing, critical thinking. We're trying to, like, I feel like we're at a stage where we're trying to really make sure we're making the best use of our time. We're being as efficient as we can so that we can focus on valuable tasks and valuable areas of expertise. And I think the only way for us to do that, like regardless of where you work, is to really take a critical look at what is it that you're spending your time on. What are those repeatable tasks that could perhaps be automated? Can you work in a different way? Can you do things in a different way? And for me, I think, especially where I am at the moment, I think that critical thinking, analysis, that kind of stuff is really important, as well as things like equity, diversity, really being inclusive about the people you're working with on a day-to-day basis, and really, kind of changing our mindsets. I think that's important as well.
Yes, inspiring. Thank you so much. Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
absolutely. And those are skills that are not taught in school.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the thing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I 100% agree with you. And one of my takeaways is, of course, making my own skills map, which is always good to know your own skills, and also the importance of tracking the skills that you already have in your organization, and training people in the skills you need, instead of kind of like what David mentions in the chat, focusing on the character of the employees and not so much on the resumes and what school they went to and
Yes.
Yeah,
what
yeah,
what they did in the
exactly.
past.
Yeah. For sure. Wow. Excellent.
So that's wonderful. Okay, do we have
Great.
any more questions? If not, we're gonna be closing on time, which is fantastic because we have the closing session with Liz in a couple minutes. Let's see if we have any more questions. And of course, I want to thank you, Vanessa, so much for your presentation and
Thank you.
coming on stage and sharing your knowledge and your experience. It's been a wonderful roadmap that you presented, and you have a wonderful story. You've really done a lot. uh,
Been moving
it
around.
was yeah. It's been really inspiring, and I love the way you can really connect everywhere you've been to and everything you've done to get you to where you are now. And I think that's something really, really inspiring, especially for people that are transitioning into L&D from other
Yeah,
industries
definitely.
as
Thank
well.
you. I'm glad. I hope it's useful. And feel free to reach out to me if you've got any more questions or you just need a bit of a nudge. I'm here.
Wonderful. Okay, so thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And please make sure to join Liz at the closing session in about a minute. So we'll see you all there. Have a wonderful rest of the conference. And please join us
Great.
tomorrow for day 2.
Yeah. Day 2. Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.